I've never told you this story. And this happened when I was in Miami and I was quote unquote pursuing acting for the Latin world. I was working in the supermarket. This is 2015 or early 2016. I was like 22 years old by then. And I was looking for ways that I could get into the acting scene of Miami. By then, I've done some like extra work, like being extras and stuff in Nickelodeon shows. And crazy enough, in one of the shows that I was doing for Nickelodeon, I met this Dominican actress. When we were all like eating, the staff was eating, the cast was eating, I asked the mother of the Dominican actress, I told her, hey, so how can I get into acting here? Like, I want to learn acting, I want to do better. How can I get someone to coach me, basically? She recommended for me to start going to acting classes for telenovelas in Spanish first, for me to get like the G's of acting, you know?
The G's?
Kind of like the flow of acting, of how acting feels, learning a script and all of that. She didn't have the contact, but she had a friend that had a contact that knew of someone that it was a great teacher for acting, for telenovelas, and he was very well known for having people start on acting and get into these famous telenovelas for Telemundo, Televisa. I finally got a hold of it. I called and I was like, hey, well, I'm interested in acting classes. How does it work? They were like, oh yeah, just come by. We're always here from this time to this time, and this is when this particular person was teaching. I'm not gonna say names because you'll understand why. When I was driving to the place, I was very excited. Like, I dressed up very well. You know, I was living in this tiny room that it was like in storage in the back of the house of, you know, very cool looking house in South Beach, Miami. So I got dressed very well. You know, I styled my hair, I put some cologne on, and I was ready to go. I get in my car, I open the door of my car. It was a 2006 Hyundai Elantra. The car was the cheapest thing you could get because it had the like
prank windows?
Yes.
Oh
it was
my
the simplest
gosh.
thing you could get. So I get in my car, I'm all pumped. So I start driving that way. There was a lot of traffic. I get there and I see all of these good looking, Latin looking people crying outside.
Oh God.
And I'm like, wow, these people are actually good. Like, I was surprised, you know, like they were
Why?
they were all crying outside. Like, I'm parking in front of the place
But why did you think they were good?
because they were all like really crying. They were like crying,
Well,
like
you thought they were fake, like acting, that they were
well,
crying.
no. They are just acting because in my mind they're just acting. They're just practicing, you know. Like, and I see all these people crying and hugging each other, and I'm like, wow, they go outside, kind of like to lose the fear of people watching them.
Yeah.
And they're good. Oh my God. I was like, this is the spot. I'm finally gonna make it, you know? Like, so I get out of the car. I don't want to interrupt the exercise. I'm like, I'm not gonna talk to anybody. I'm not gonna make them break character.
The exercise.
So I am going to just go straight in and just start my class, you know, sign up for my class. I was pumped because I wanted to be able to cry like these people,
Oh my
you know?
God.
So I go in there, I open the door, and I see nobody in the reception for the class. And I just sit there, just waiting. So somebody comes to me, speaks to me in Spanish, say, hey, what do you want? And I was like, oh no, I'm just here for the acting classes, yeah. And by the way, they're very good out there, and you guys are doing a great job. This is me, like, honestly flattering them.
Yeah.
She comes closer to me and she sort of whispers, hey, so the professor just killed himself in the classroom. He shot himself, so we're not gonna do classes. I'm sorry that you have
In the classroom.
in the classroom. He killed himself in the classroom. So when everybody got there ready for their class, they found the professor dead.
Oh.
He shot himself. So I went from hyper pumped that these people were great actors to what the fuck is going on?
Oh
I was like, what the hell is going on? I was ready. I saved money.
No.
I finally found the class and this happened. And I was in shock when she told me that. I didn't know how to react. The only thing I said, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And I just stood there and I walk outside, and now I can really feel the environment. I can really feel like these people are in pain.
Yeah. They're not acting.
They're not acting. So got on my car, and I drove back home. Obviously, when you have a young man, 21, 22 years old, trying to start to learn the skill of what he thinks he wants to do with his life, and this happens, there's a lot of meanings that you can attach to this. Some people that might be superstitious and say, well, that's a sign that you shouldn't pursue acting. And then you can say, hey, that's just a sign that maybe that was not the class for you. Like there's so many meanings that you can attach to this. And on the drive back, I was like, what am I supposed to do? I'm conflicted now. Yeah, it's the first time I go to a classroom that the professor killed himself in the place where he works. So I'm not shocked. I've faced suicide of relatives before, but this was like the start of my career, and it was like stopped because of a suicide of someone else. So it was like all these things going through my head. Looking back 7 years later, I can see the contrast of the way that I think now and the way that I used to think before. And the way I think now, meaning is something that we just give to things because we want a story to tell ourselves. Like we just want something that to tell ourselves, to kind of like pat us in the back and say, no, this means this, so do that. And usually meanings they tend to favor our comfort zone. So if you think about it, so if you go to kind of like a martial art class and you go there and you're punching the punch bag in your first class and your knuckles, they start bleeding at the beginning, that always happens, then you might attach that meaning to be like, hey, this happened, so I don't think that's a good thing because I'm hurting my hands.
Yeah.
So you always your meanings always go towards your comfort zone. I learned to differentiate meanings from facts. So the fact was that I was looking for a class, and two things can happen. This class is a success for me, or it doesn't work for me. That's it. It doesn't really matter why it doesn't work or why it works. I'm giving just two options. Number one, because it's easier to understand because the binary bias of the human beings. But also, if you look at it in facts, it can also be a class that is, okay, that I might be losing my time. There's only facts. Everything else are just meanings that we give to things. And we can give whatever meaning we want. Does that have to do anything with how I start my acting career? No. Did that affect my results in acting career? No. I think things that actually affected my acting career were my habits, my discipline, my consistency, but it had nothing to do with the meaning that I was giving to things. It's just numbers. If you're in acting and you go to a casting, most of the time they tell you no. So if you give the meaning to yourself, oh, I'm just not good or whatever, it's just a matter of numbers. It's just like sales. You go through a bunch of leads, one say yes, and most of them will say no at the beginning until you get good at it. So now I've learned that if I want to do something, sometimes things happen where you get emotionally affected, but at the end of the day, all you have to do is look at the facts. What does this mean? Can this happen? Yes. It's a possibility. Yes. Has this happened to other people? Yes. So what are you going to do is actually what you want to do. What is it that you want to do? No matter what happens, the meaning that something has is something that we give ourselves just to like consolate ourselves, but facts will be facts, and facts is what's going to give you results no matter what you want to do. So now every time something happens, I try so it doesn't emotionally affect me. It's not like, oh, this happened, oh my god, why did it happen, or that, you know, you get in this non-productive chatter inside yourself. I know it sounds easier said than done, but you can do it. Like, you just think, okay, how do I solve this, and how avoid this to happen, or how can I repeat this if it was something good, and how can I keep making it happen better and better. So for me, everything right now, even though sometimes whenever I want to entertain myself, I give meanings to things, you know, like, oh, this means this, and I feel cool. But in reality, it's just facts, and you need to learn how to divide those two, because if not, you will have this compilation of meanings that at the end is going to become a belief, and a belief is going to become a habit, and a habit will become behavior, and behavior becomes your action, and your action becomes your results, and blah, blah, blah. So at the end of the day, you have to be very careful what type of meanings you're giving to things.
I was not expecting that at all. I was thinking it would be like, oh, the person was really mean and that's why they were all crying.
I see.
Like the professor made them cry.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No, but I totally like resonate with what you're saying about not attaching meaning to something that doesn't need to have meaning. Like I think about in sales, a book that I have been slowly reading is called Fanatical Prospecting.
Okay, great book.
And in that book, the author talks about how cold calls are basically like, they're always going to be important. Like, and honestly, arguably even more so now that nobody is calling, because, you know, if you're a salesperson and you're starting to do cold calls, like you're going to be one of very few people calling the prospects. Prospects are going to be getting more emails, social media, like that sort of outreach instead of calls. So anyway, but he talks about how when it comes to cold calls, people just attribute any kind of excuse basically, and they the excuse comes from putting meaning to a fact. So, the cat just caught a moth. That's really good news. We got a new cat, and now she is already paying for her rent. Oh my god, that's really good. So one example, Rafi's getting in on it. One example would be like somebody starts calling in the morning and the first person doesn't answer. So then that salesperson's going to think, oh, well, maybe this is not a good time to call. So I'm not going to call now. And then they start thinking, well, lunchtime, people are at lunch. They don't want to be bothered. So that's not a good time to call either. And then in the afternoon, maybe they reach a voicemail. Maybe she ate that moth. Maybe they don't even reach a voicemail and it's like, my brain is like spinning its wheels, but maybe the person answers the phone, but they're really rude about it. And so then that person thinks, the salesperson is going to think, okay, well, anytime that I call after 5 p.m., people are really crabby about it. So that's not a good time either. So people attribute meaning to things that don't need to have meaning and turn it into excuses. And that also is like Jim Rohn talks about how there are two salespeople and one day it's like pouring down rain, and this was back when it was door-to-door salespeople. It was not calls or anything. It's pouring down rain, and the first salesperson wakes up and says, oh my goodness, what a horrible day outside. Like, this is no kind of weather to be going out and ringing doorbells. I'm going to stay home. And then the other person wakes up and says, wow, what a horrible day. This is the perfect day for me to go out and ring doorbells because everybody's going to be at home, including the other salespeople. So it's all about perspective and the meaning that you attach to it. It's not it's just taking the facts and deciding which meaning you want to attribute to it. Yeah,
exactly. So that's the difference between there's this story that I heard, and I think it was well, it can happen with everything. For example, let's say that you are in your office and you're working late, and you're a person that believes in, I don't know, in supernatural things, and you hear a sound in the office, and now you are going crazy. You heard it all the way in the hallway. You're by yourself in the office, and if you're someone that believes in supernatural things and things that might hurt you from another realm or whatever, now you're freaking out. It's the same sound. Now someone else that doesn't believe in any of that, and if anything happens, they also trust themselves that they will be able to take care of the situation, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That person says, maybe that was the printer. It deactivated itself, or the AC kicking in, whatever, and he just goes back to work. But the other person is freaking out. So it's the same thing. Same things that are happening to everybody. And it's just what you think about them. It's is the victim mentality versus the no matter what, I'm gonna make it happen mentality, the champion mentality. And something interesting that Alex Hormozy was saying, he said that champions don't have things that we don't have. Like, they don't have more things that we don't have. They just lack things that we have. So the thing is that they lack excuses. They lack this comfortability of us not making ourselves uncomfortable, and they just lack that part that tells you it's okay to do this. It's okay to eat the whole bag of potato chips because it's today, whatever. Like, it's okay if I miss the gym today because everybody's missing the gym today because it's snowing. It's okay because whatever. You know, they just lack that. And that's what makes them champions. And it's just a matter of, even with work, for example, whatever you do for work, you can see it at like two different things. So usually this is what happens. You're working and you are sitting down on your desk and you say, oh my God, this is so tedious. I have to do this over again. I have to do this and do that. And some other person might see it as, let's say, an immigrant that comes to this country and they never had the opportunity to even use their skills and be paid for it. They might do the same job that someone that was born and raised here. And they might see it as, this is an opportunity for me to, number one, learn, grow my skills, and I get to do this every day. I get to learn by practicing every day, and I also get paid for it. This is so cool. But it's just the same job, a different meaning. So literally life can be exactly what you want. Like, your life can be what you want. You're like, and I always say that I choose to have the meaning of things that favors me. I believe I'm one of the smartest person in the planet, no matter what you tell me. I believe that. And that belief system allows me, under control, obviously, because if I say that, then I might say, okay, I don't have to work that much because I'm too smart. But I just choose to believe things that help me, not things that don't help me. You know, I can choose to believe, my immune system, I always had an immune system that I had to improve. I'm not going to say that it's bad, but that I have to improve. And I can think, I have a horrible immune system, or I can say, hey, I got the opportunity to improve it.